So in my previous video, the Machine Brother Auguste boss fight skip, I did a very complex jump at the beginning of the video, and someone asked for an explanation on how to do that, and I figured it'd be better to make a video than try to explain it in a comment. In addition, I haven't been, I was looking for videos basically of how to do these high jumps, and there's bits and pieces of them, but there's no video that shows you how to do pretty much the highest possible jump. There's no video that just straight out lays it out for you. So first I'm going to go over my setup with my weapons. So for your first set, you're going to want to have a small sword. Actually, no, your primary weapon doesn't really matter too much, actually. Your primary weapon, you can have whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. And for your secondary, you're going to want to have bare fists. And then for your second set, you need to have a small sword on your secondary, and then your primary weapon again doesn't really matter. You can actually get some extra height if you use a large sword, but I'll just show it without it first, and then I'll show it with a large sword. You don't get that much extra height, but you do get a little bit. Okay, so basically in the video, I use what's called a double lift. So that has to do with the bare fist lift, or you can do it with any lift really, but it's easiest to do with the bare fist lift. So to do this, you're just jumping and heavy attacking, and it lifts you up. Now, the interesting thing about this is if you try to do it twice on your second jump, it won't let you do it. You can only do it on your first jump off the ground. But however, if you do it on a slanted surface, going up the slanted surface, it'll basically think that the game will think that your character touched the ground, and then it'll let you get a second lift right afterwards. So I'll demonstrate that now. So I do one lift, and then since I went up a slanted object, it basically resets all your jumps. So you can kind of do a triple jump because of this, because normally you can only jump twice in the air. However, if you do a lift off of this, I can jump again and then jump a third time, which also allows me to do two lifts in a row as well, and then get a third jump out of it too. And then for the rest of the jump, I'm just adding heavy attacks from the small sword in between because as you can see when I hit, it pulls me up a little bit, but then you can cancel it with another jump right afterwards or some other attack. So in the video, I do the double lift first, and then heavy attack, jump, heavy attack, and then from there, I do some other stuff too. So for right now, what you want to look at is the the lift, followed by another lift, followed by switching weapons into a heavy attack, into a heavy attack again. If you can do that, then you can move on to this next part. If you can't, I would practice that for a while. So just to recap that, I guess, a lift followed by another lift, followed by switching weapons, heavy attack, jump, heavy attack. And then from there, what I do in the video after that, this is where you get into a bit more advanced techniques. So we do that same exact combo, but then you add a self-destruct in, which the weird thing about self-destruct is it allows you to add an extra attack into a jump combo. So it'll basically just kind of like negate the fact that you've already used that attack before. It's kind of weird how it works. So it lets you get a third heavy attack in. Because normally you go one lift, followed by a second lift, followed by a heavy jump, heavy, and you can't do any more. But if you add that self-destruct at the end, it lets you um, add in another heavy attack. Now, the hard thing about the self-destruct is that um, you want to only hold it for like as little time as possible because the longer you hold it, the more height you lose. So as soon as you cast the self-destruct, you want to heavy immediately afterwards. That way you don't lose too much height. And then to end off in the video, after I do that heavy followed by the self-destruct, I do a plunge attack, which is just evading in midair followed by a heavy. And that gets me the height to get up onto that ledge in the Auguste boss fight video. So you can basically use this to traverse around high areas. I guess I'll try to find somewhere where I can really display it in the center area of the map. Because I have a good idea as to where I can show it off. Actually, down here would be pretty good too. So, for example, if I go down to this rock down here, normally I wouldn't really be able to get up above where I am right now, but the slanted surface here is actually perfect. So I can use this Actually, I want to start on bare fist. So you can actually do it with small swords too. As you can see, I just got two lifts right in a row with a small sword, but the bare fist does give you the highest lift, so and it's also easier to do the bare fist one. So I can use this. I can't get up here because that's pretty hard, pretty high up. Maybe if I add in, so after my first lift, if I add in another heavy and do another lift, it's pretty close. I mean, obviously that's super high up, so that's why I can't get up there, but it's like, it's pretty close, I think. I can't do it off that. It's not really quite slanted enough, I don't think. Yeah. So some things you can do it off of, some things you can't. Sometimes you can do it off the slightest thing. You can also do it like off of like ledges that go up like that sometimes. I don't know if this one will. Yeah. So that's a good example right there. So because of that, I was able to get up all the way up there. Normally, you know, with just a double jump, a normal double jump, or like a lift, you can't get up there. Like there's no way you can really. I mean, I suppose if you jumped up here first or something, then you could maybe, you know, do this. That's a basic lift. It's just a lift followed by two heavies, and then that's your basic lift. But this is just adding so much more depth to it. Basically, it's the same thing, but you're just adding like much more attacks to it to get up to places that you normally wouldn't be able to get up to. So the one I do in the video is just a double lift followed by a heavy, a self-destruct, and then a plunge. I didn't do the plunge there because I already got up, but the plunge gets you a little bit of extra height to do things sometimes. Now in the video, there's actually a higher jump that you can do that I didn't do in the video, which is, I showed it a second ago. You basically do the first lift, add a heavy in between the first lift, do the second lift, and then do the rest of it the same and then plunge afterwards. And that's like technically like with this item set, the highest lift you can get. There's other item sets and other setups that you can use to get different kinds of lifts. For example, you can add in, I mentioned this earlier, you can add in a heavy weapon on your weapon slot to light slot. And what this does, it allows you to kind of like buffer your next attack with a light attack instead. So I'll show that. I actually haven't used this in a while, so if I did this and then this, you just kind of like, you can add in a light attack basically. It can kind of mess with other combos though, so it's better for lighter combos. Um, or lighter as in like shorter combos. And that's really good for beginners if you're trying to like do stuff to start off because it gives you a little bit of extra time to think about what you want to do while that is swinging for your next attack. Aside from that though, there's not too much else. Then the self-destruct is the hardest thing I'd say to learn because while you're self-destructing in mid-air, you do lose a lot of height, as you can see there. Like I'll get to the top of the jump, and then you lose a lot of height. So the main thing is you want to make sure when you do it, you just heavy attack right afterwards, so that you can maintain your height. Yeah, so that's it. Hopefully this explains heavy jumps and high jumps in a good good way. Um, If there's still any questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I will try to answer them. I would put a control scheme up or a controller map up, but my controls are really wonky and I do not use anything close to the default controls for this game. So it would be just probably lead to more confusion if I did put one of those up. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully this explains that to people that were confused.